to the regular meeting held on Wednesday, February 28, 2018 at 7 p.m. Have a roll call, please.
Freeholder Graham will be absent. Freeholder Lazaro.
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo.
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rose.
Present.
Freeholder Yardley.
Here.
Could I have a moment of silence to salute the flag, please? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, adequate notice as defined by Section 3D of Chapter 231, PL 1975, has been made by regular mail. Such notice is being submitted on January 8, 2018, from the Administrative Center of the County of Sussex, located at 1 Spring Street, Union, New Jersey, to the following: New Jersey Herald, New Jersey Sunday Herald, Star Ledger, WSUS Radio, WNNJ Radio, and is also posted on the bulletin board maintaining the Administrative Center for Public Announcements, and has been submitted to the Sussex County Clerk in compliance with said act. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Patillo, second by Lazaro. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Proclamations, presentations, certificates. Proclamations. Proclamation in recognition of March as American Red Cross Month. Proclamation in recognition of Robert E. Riley earning the rank of Eagle Scout. Proclamation in recognition of Mark J. Riley earning the rank of Eagle Scout.
So moved.
Motion by Lazaro.
Second.
Second by Patillo. Discussion. All those in favor?
I do not.
Just go ahead.
I'll save it for my report.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Proclamations are passed. Certificate of recognition, Bessie Riley Sutherland, Grand Marshal 2018. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Patillo, second by Lazaro. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. I think the presentation is going to be pushed back.
Are we waiting?
If you could wait a few minutes.
Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll circle back around to that.
Thank you very much.
Are we, do we have the proclamation? Is American Red Cross here? Okay. Ed Susko, Charlie Wortman, Carol Lee Spages, and Fred Spages here.
The Red Cross. Does anybody not know what the Red Cross is or what it does? Hard to believe. All the work that you do and all the time that you put in, when there's a disaster, a tragedy, or even when there's somebody that needs help, the Red Cross is there. And you have served this community well, and you have served this community often, and we do appreciate it. And this proclamation, which I will attempt to read. Whereas the American Red Cross saw a record-breaking year in 2017 of challenging domestic and international response efforts, through the support of its volunteers in just 45 days, the Red Cross responded to 6 of the largest and most complex disasters of 2017, including back-to-back hurricanes, the deadliest week of wildfires in California history, and a horrific mass shooting in Las Vegas. In addition, the Red Cross responded to nearly 50,000 home fires in 2017, providing casework assistance to help 76,000 families recover. Whereas in New Jersey, the Red Cross has a long history of helping our neighbors in need, the American Red Cross New Jersey region responded to more than 820 local disasters last year, assisting nearly 1,900 New Jersey families who were displaced by home fires. They installed 10,600 free smoke alarms and reached thousands with fire safety information through the Home Fire campaign. In New Jersey, the Red Cross provides an average of 4,000 military family case services every year and collects an average of 90,000 units of blood from our generous blood donors. Whereas March is American Red Cross Month, a special time to recognize and thank the Red Cross volunteers and donors who give their time and resources to help members of the community. The Red Cross depends on these local heroes to deliver help and hope during a disaster. We applaud our heroes here in New Jersey who give of themselves to assist their neighbors when they need a helping hand. And whereas across the country and around the world, the American Red Cross responds to disasters big and small, it collects about 40% of the nation's blood supply, provides 24-hour support to military members, veterans, and their families, teaches millions life-saving skills such as lifeguarding and CPR, and through its Restoring Family Links program, connects family members separated by crisis, conflict, or migration. And whereas we dedicate the month of March to all those who support the American Red Cross mission to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies, our community depends on the American Red Cross, which relies on donations of time, money, and blood to fulfill its humanitarian mission. Now therefore, we, the Sussex County Board of Chosen Freeholders, by virtue of the authority vested in us by the Constitution and laws of Sussex County and New Jersey, do hereby proclaim March 2018 as American Red Cross Month. We encourage all Americans to support this reorganization and its noble humanitarian mission. American Red Cross Month 2018, Jonathan Rose, Director, Freeholder; Sylvia Patillo, Deputy Director, Freeholder; George Graham, Freeholder; Carla Lazaro, Freeholder; and Herb Yardley, Freeholder. And I don't think there are enough words that we can say to thank the Red Cross volunteers for all the things that they do. I know in this county we've had several fires this year already, and many last year, and you have been there and on the spot to help these families in that moment of need when they virtually lost everything. And it's neighbors helping neighbors, and we very much appreciate your help. Thank you so very, very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And they also take care of your pets when you have a disaster. They're never forgotten.
We have a pet first aid app.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Into the microphone. Oh, wow. So I'm Jocelyn Gilman, I'm the Executive Director for the American Red Cross of Northern New Jersey, and I just want to thank Sussex County and the Freeholders for honouring us tonight, and also to thank our incredible volunteers and our donors, because without them, we would not be able to fulfill mission. We're actually 94% volunteer driven. So that's really important. And I also just wanted to take this moment to acknowledge a dead half who was a volunteer of ours who sadly passed away this year. So again, you know, for all those who are here and for all those who have passed, it really, truly from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank everybody and to thank all of you as well for supporting us. It's really important. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say something. When a pack-on was demolished by Superstorm Sandy, the Red Cross came into our regional shelter. It was the first time we ever opened a regional shelter. And you came in from across the United States, your members came in. And not only did they organize this, but they brought food every night, and they had the cots and everything in place, and they came in and they really just took over and got us through a very difficult time. To see you work in action is very different than to see you just stand here and talking about it. They are absolutely amazing. One of the kindest, I mean, people when they're being evicted from their homes in the middle of a disaster are not happy people. And sometimes we get very agitated and angry, but you never raised your voices. They were always calm and professional. And we couldn't have made it through without your help. So I just want to thank you for everything you do.
That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. Help others. Thank you.
Are we ready with the presentation?
Hi.
I'd be happy to get started now. One of my colleagues is on his way from the city.
Your choice if we want to.
If you have other things to do and you don't mind, just go in the car for a couple hours. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
We're up to public session from the floor. Please note, everyone is asked to keep their comments to 5 minutes or less and only address issues regarding agenda items, followed by a 3-minute response time from the Freeholder Board. Please state your name, print your name and municipality on the sign-in sheet. There's a slight change from the past. We're now having 5 minutes for you to speak, and then the Freeholder Board can respond to any questions or comments you have for 3 minutes after the 5 minutes. If you want to have a response before your 5 minutes is up, you'll need to end that, and then the Freeholder Board will respond. This is so that there is not time taken away from your comments for the Freeholder Board to respond. Can I have a motion to go into open for public session?
So moved.
Motion by Patillo,
So moved. Second.
second by Lazaro. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, the floor is open to the public.
Good evening, Freeholders. My name is Tom Apogee. That's spelled M-A-K-O-U-J-Y. I am a resident of Sparta, and I am currently the acting president of the Sussex County Beekeepers Association. I appear before you this evening to request your help on behalf of the nearly 300 members of our organization countywide. I'm here to ask your assistance regarding an issue facing the county's beekeepers. Recently, the New Jersey Department of Agriculture issued proposed beekeeping regulations. And I forwarded you a link a week or two ago to these new regulations. The Sussex County Beekeepers Association strongly opposes many of the proposed regulations on the following grounds. The draft of these new regulations is inconsistent with the New Jersey legislative intent of the statute signed into law in 2015. That law sought to encourage and enable beekeeping throughout the state. Instead, these new regulations put new, drastic, and unnecessary barriers in the way of hobbyists and small commercial beekeepers. There is no evidence of a general problem with honeybees that such drastic new barriers to beekeeping should be adopted. The Sussex County Beekeepers Association believes that these new excessive burdens imposed on the beekeepers by these proposed regulations will discourage new beekeepers and result in current beekeepers not registering their hives, a critical tool currently used by the New Jersey State Apiarist Tim Schuler in his fight to eliminate honeybee disease. I have previously forwarded you a copy of a resolution that was enacted by the Mercer County Board of Chosen Freeholders opposing this same Department of Agriculture regulation, as well as provided you the response of the New Jersey Beekeepers Association. Again, I want to thank you for your time this evening. I'm asking for your support passing a resolution in opposition to the New Jersey proposed beekeeping regulations. Can I answer any questions for you?
Are you finished with your 5 minutes?
Yes, I
Okay.
can. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I wasn't timing.
So, no, we're timing you, but you have time left, so if you want the Freeholder Board to respond, now is their 3 minutes.
Okay.
I just had a question. Do you have any idea what prompted these regulations? What's behind?
I do, sir. In 2015, the state passed regulations prohibiting municipalities from prohibiting beekeeping in the municipality. They then suggested, this was in 2015, they suggested to the Department of Agriculture that the Department of Agriculture come up with some workable regulations for beekeepers to essentially be sure that beekeepers were good neighbors. The process was hijacked, in essence, by an individual in Bedminster, a relatively high-powered attorney, who had a relationship with the attorney for the Department of Agriculture. He had an issue with a neighbor who was a beekeeper. And they put forth regulations that are not based on science. There was no input from the state apiarists. There was no input from the New Jersey beekeeping community. Nothing from scientists. This is what created the issue or the problem. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, I think it does. I just want to say that sometimes I thought maybe somebody got mixed up between yellow jackets and honeybees, which, you know, they're totally different, but sounds as though somehow a neighborhood squabble turned out to, in some way, we should get some legislation.
I agree with you. I think that's a pretty good
Isn't
description.
this a case of a neighbor being too close to the next door neighbor and he sees a beehive in the backyard and he gets all bent out of shape and upset about it?
Mr. Lazaro was probably more of a situation where you had a beekeeper with a large number of hives in a neighborhood. And of course, living here in Sussex County, we know that honeybees swarm. They're uncontrolled, they're of no danger to the community. But apparently this became an issue for this neighborhood. We had an irresponsible beekeeper. And that's essentially what triggered this. And I think if you look back, you'll see that the number of honeybee-related issues statewide is negligible in comparison to the number of hives that are kept here in New Jersey. As I'm sure you're all aware, honeybees have taken it on the chin in the recent past due to any number of factors, including pesticides, but more importantly, this little tiny mite that has traveled all around the world carrying disease.
Yep.
As a consequence, managed hives, the number of managed hives nationwide, worldwide, has fallen precipitously. And as a consequence, members of our community have stepped up in an attempt to keep honeybees in order to provide those pollination services that honeybees do. Every third bite of food we put in our mouth is directly attributable to honeybees, whether it's fruits or vegetables that have been pollinated. And of course, generally speaking, honeybees are not an issue. They've been bred over the centuries to be gentle, to be honey producers. Gone are the days when hives were essentially vicious. Our bees, for the most part in this country, are amazingly enough of Italian descent. If you listen, they hum with an accent. But they're generally gentle.
Smart bees.
Yes, and they work very hard. But they are an important part of our environment, especially here in Sussex County, because of the agriculture and so forth.
Oh my God, yes.
People's and something as simple as people's gardens. It increases the production of your garden. I live in Sparta. My neighbors love bringing their children over. I do little tours of my bee yard and try to educate as best we can. But these new rules and proposed regulations are especially onerous, and I'm afraid that they will drive existing beekeepers essentially underground. We will no longer register our hives because we won't want the interference.
I don't blame you.
And new beekeepers will be kept from entering the field. So they're really a problem, they're an issue. New Jersey beekeepers, Sussex County beekeepers will freely admit that there probably should be some minor regulations regarding distances to property lines and so forth, but the rest of the regulations that have been proposed are extremely onerous and have no business being implemented. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for your
Anyone else
hard
in the
work.
public?
I'm here with my wife. Sorry, can one of us speak at one time? Could we both approach?
You can both come up.
Okay.
Actually, three of us are together.
Okay, George Morchi, Dorothy Morchi from Wantage. The issue is our disabled daughter, who was getting transportation to the SPARK program, is no longer getting full transportation from our residents to the program. So what happened was SPARK offered Skyland rides as a possible alternate source of transportation. And when I had called, they said there was no longer available. So I pursued it myself further, not even with DTD's help, because our daughter has a DTD caseworker. And we found a company called Logistic through Medicaid. And they said she qualifies, no problem, we'll pick her up. We got the ride for 2 days until they abruptly canceled without even calling us. So what happened was finally the State Department of Human Services that oversees it contacted us and they told me they can no longer provide the ride, but we were getting different explanations from Logistic Air and different explanations from the state as to why the ride is canceled. So I just sent a letter today to have a hearing to appeal it. but we've gotten, pretty much gone to a dead end. Can't find transportation for it to get to, because now we have to go to a catchment area, 9 miles from our residence to get there. And my
My
wife,
daughter's non-ambulatory. We don't have a modified vehicle of our own. And I'm lucky I do have a license, but I also have grandchildren that I watch, granddaughter at home. And if she's sick, well, the timing is terrible because the catchment is at 8 o'clock in the morning. And if Riley is sick and she's asleep and he goes to work at 4 o'clock in the morning, it's just very difficult.
just to clarify, just out of work temporarily, I go back to work hopefully in 3 weeks. And what I'm doing now is just to help Dorothy so she can throw her back out. I'm actually getting in the van, lifting our daughter up, and Dorothy's assisting. But once I go back to work, I'm out of the equation.
To add insult to injury, Skyline Rides passes my house 4 times a day to pick up another young man who does attend SCAR. But they will not pick up my daughter because there's conflicting reasons, but mainly it's because they will not go to Gales Court, the Sparta Center, for the medically needy. So it's a different route, and they say they have no buses that will go to that route. And it's actually there's at least 4 individuals that need to go to the Sparta 1 program.
What I just want to mention, just the relevance with the county level is what happens is when I talk to DDD and in fact, if you call one of their departments, what they do is they say we have a high phone volume and they refer you to your county. And also DDD workers I spoke with right away asked me, well, what about the county? You know, that's all. And when they gave me New Jersey Transit as a possible source, when you call New Jersey Transit, they give you Skyline Rides, and they say, oh, we don't service Sussex County.
And I don't understand how they don't, we pay taxes, we live in Sussex County. I don't care if I'm the last house on the borderline of Sussex County and Orange County. I still pay Sussex County taxes and New Jersey state taxes. And yet, it doesn't matter. My daughter was just cut from
And she'd been receiving this for about 3.5 years after she transitioned out of high school.
Right,
And it's been great up to this point, but we feel like it's definitely been left hanging.
And there was like 28 individuals that they said was cut from the transportation, door-to-door transportation. They didn't ask if they were ironically, they happen to be the most involved, the ones that they don't have, ambulatory skills, and not all of them. And my daughter isn't, I know her daughter isn't. And there's another girl that lives 3 miles from my home, they won't pick her up. And yet, they're getting the funds for our children to attend these programs, but yet, transportation's not a part of it, they're saying.
1 minute?
Excuse me?
Okay, 1 minute.
Oh, okay. Do you have anything?
I can speak separately.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Freeholders, do you have a response?
I can respond to that. I've been talking to Carol about this. We've been working and trying to find different ways to restore that transportation. It seems that the state changed the way they were funding it.
Yes, I
Okay,
understand.
so the way they were funding it, the money was cut for transportation.
It was never there, they said. Actually, they said transportation had never been covered.
Yes, but they were able to use the funds because it was given to them in a different manner. So they used some of those funds for the transportation. Now that it's a fee for service, they can't do that. Now, this is just my understanding. I'm concerned, in fact, that if we could find something, because the problem that I understood, and correct me if I'm wrong, we got to the point where if you could actually drive her to that area where they would pick her up with the bus, then you would be able to get her into Sparta. Is that correct?
That's not I've been doing that now with my husband's assistance. And
But that's not
I
going to
don't
continue.
have a modified vehicle. My daughter is in a wheelchair.
Right.
So Scarf was picking her up from my home, which meant all I had to do was
Just
wheel
take her
her
out to the
from
bus.
the
Right.
ramp onto a lift.
Mm-hmm.
Now I am wheeling her out of my home, physically picking her up out of her chair to put her in my vehicle, put her chair in the back. Then I gotta get out at the catchment in all kinds of weather which is the Wantage Plaza on 23. And then I have to do it over, I have to pick her up out of the vehicle, put her in the, take the chair out, and then I have to do it again at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about this today, actually, Carol. Do you want to just mention what we were thinking?
Yeah, we actually have one. Hi, how are you? Yeah, we actually have one other idea. Want me to go up? Thank you.
Because you've been going through agencies.
Carol, if
as
you could
you've
just
been trying to
introduce
do
yourself
this.
to the...
I'm Carol Norbert. I am the county's administrator of Health and Human Services. And, we have looked at several different ways to perhaps get the transportation, and they haven't worked out. The Skylands Ride bus right now can hold 2 wheelchairs, and right now we have 2 wheelchairs in that bus. So that's why Skylands Ride is not able to take your daughter. But we do have one other idea I'm going to pursue tomorrow morning that came up, with us putting our heads together. There is a program that we have that maybe can provide an assistant that could actually do the lifting for you. But I do have to see what the regulations are and whether or not she would be the one that would have the aid, whether she would qualify or not. So I'm going to look into that first thing in the morning for you.
Yeah, we've been talking about this a lot, going back and forth, and I know.
I don't know if I would qualify for that, only because through the state, my daughter's tier might not be high enough.
Okay.
And I don't even, it's the speed for service thing, and
Yeah, it's
they
really
started
changed.
tiering our children about 4 years ago, actually, maybe 5. And I knew it was going to fee for service. And I understand that the fee for service is really the base of the whole situation. But I do think that SCAR could have done a little bit better at a solution, or asking us, or preparing us for, it's just they left us hanging. They basically left us hanging, and they didn't care how we got to the catchment, if we could get to the catchment, personal issues and matters, and they don't. It's crazy. And maybe out of the 28 individuals that they did cut from the transportation, some of them have rides. So maybe it's a matter of, who knows, maybe 10 of us that are left without rides. 4 of us are in Wantage. I know you're in Byram. But aside from all of that, it's just, they were saying that it's not a funding issue, it's a timing issue. That's what they tell you one thing, they'll tell me another thing. And then when I finally ask them, they say, oh, it's timing. It's because the program now has to start at 8:30 in the morning, so we don't have time now to pick you up. But yet they'll let my daughter sit on a bus for 15 minutes. I don't get that outside the program. And that 15 minutes, they could have been up, Unionville and back down by that time. So I don't get that. They could have picked up 2 children, rather than having us meet at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I have to leave my house by 7:30 to be there. So I'm sitting there a good 15, 20 minutes. It's kind
Well,
of.
give us a little more time, and we haven't stopped.
I appreciate that.
Just give us a little more time, and I appreciate the information you gave us tonight as well.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. We'll keep working.
Thank you so
Keep
much.
trying.
You're welcome.
My name is Laura Tesori. I live in Byron Township. I have a 25-year-old daughter who attends Scarf also and medically.
Ma'am, can you just speak into the microphone? That way it picks it up on our recording system.
I have a 25-year-old multiply disabled child who attends the Scarf Medical Day program. We have the same situation. Scarf has a 10-mile catchment that they say that they won't pick up any people door to door. within the 10-mile radius. However, they're going to group homes that are outside that limit. And there's no other medical day program in the county, so we have no other option. And the Medicaid covers transportation through Logistic Care. There's not one service provider in Sussex County. So we need to figure out a way to have incentives for companies that are, there's many companies that transport these disabled children to the school system. We need some way to get an incentive for them to join the Logistic Care program, because there's agencies out there that can provide the service, but the only way they can do it is through the Logistic Care program. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Any other comments? Anyone else in the public?
Laura, could you give us your telephone number, not out loud, just write it on a piece of paper before you go? Okay, and your phone number.
Anyone else from the public? Seeing no one from the public, I have a motion to close the meeting for the public. So moved. Motion by Lazaro.
Second.
Second by Patillo. Discussion. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. The floor is closed to the public. We'll now step back to the presentation. I think we have the final member here. Presentation by Nicole Skolnick, PLLC, attorney to law.
Laura, your address too, if you wouldn't mind.
May I have one extra?
Yeah, I'll keep them here just in case. Thanks.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Joseph Chacho. Salvatore Badalla. We're from the law firm Napoli Shkolnik. We're both attorneys at Napoli Shkolnik. We're a law firm based out of New York, but we also have about 8 offices across the country, including here in New Jersey. So we do have several attorneys that do practice here in New Jersey. We're here to talk to you a little bit today. I'll try to make it quick about the opioid litigation that's currently going on across the country. Our firm represents about 150 to 200 counties and cities that have either already filed or excuse me, are in the process of filing lawsuits against the manufacturers and the distributors of opioid pain medications. I know Hunter Skolnick was here, the second half of Napoli Skolnick, back in December, and met with your county solicitor. He apologizes for not being here again, but he's on trial in Arizona. So like I said, I'm going to try to make it somewhat quick just so I can open the floor for any questions, because I know some of you may have already learned a little bit about the litigation. Like I said, about really hundreds at this point. Personally, we represent about 150 to 200 counties and cities that are suing these manufacturers and distributors for their role in causing the opioid epidemic, seeking to recover whatever damages that a county or a city or any municipality may have, including social services, law enforcement, jails, foster care, the administration of the lock zone, whatever it may be that the county has experienced and will continue to experience as a result of the opioid epidemic. These lawsuits are mainly targeting the manufacturers of the manufacturers of the opioid pain medications for their deceptive practices in telling the medical community and the public for a very long time that opioids were safe for long-term use and had no addiction risks. They told doctors here and everywhere in the country that opioid pain medications were not addictive, and I think everybody basically knows, without me getting too much into it now, that that's not the truth. What we've seen in places like Sussex County and across the country is that along the same lines of their marketing scheme, The amount of prescriptions prescribed and distributed amongst the counties and communities all across the country skyrocketed over the past 10 or 15 years. The distributors flooded communities like this community with opioid pain medications, and that in turn directly caused the opioid epidemic, heroin, and things like that. Again, I don't want to get too much into it because I know everybody might have a little bit of a background, and I'll leave it open to questions if there's any questions about the litigation. Specifically about us, this is our specialty, this is what we do, is pharmaceutical litigation. Hunter Skolnick has been appointed to the executive committee of the multi-district litigation. For those of you that don't know, basically what's happening is all of the counties and cities that are filing in federal court as opposed to state court are being handled by one judge, Judge Polster in the Northern District of Ohio, who's working actively to try to resolve these cases. Most of our clients we've been filing in state court, either here in New Jersey, we've already filed for a few small communities like Ridgefield, and we also represent Damaris, New Jersey. We've been filing in state court. In New York, we've about 50 and change counties have already filed or on behalf of filing, so almost every county in the state of New York is already pursuing this litigation. For example, we represent Westchester and Nassau counties, and Paul Napoli of the other half of Napoli Skolnick has been appointed the leadership of that litigation there in New York, and we've already been making a lot of progress. We've already entered into discovery to start to receive documents from these manufacturers to hopefully start to make real change in the New York communities. We're representing all of our clients on a contingency basis, meaning that there's no cost whatsoever to the county. All the costs, any expenses, anything related to the litigation is covered by our firm. And in the event that the lawsuit is unsuccessful for whatever reason, the county doesn't owe us $1. At no time ever will the county take $1 out of its own pocket to put towards this litigation or to pay us to handle the litigation. In terms of county resources, we've already started this process with, like I said, hundreds of counties across the country. We don't need much from the county other than pointing us in the right direction and to the right people that we can get the information from to help us learn more about what the county, what effects the opioid epidemic has had on the county beyond what we've already learned through our public research. In the folders that we just handed up, there's a few different materials in there. One of them is a PowerPoint presentation. I'll leave it, I won't explain the whole thing and take up too much time, but basically, as you go through the presentation, you'll see that we've done some research into Sussex County in terms of the opioid distribution rates, overdose rates, and some of the effects that we've been able to access that the epidemic has already had on the county. I really want to leave time if anybody has any questions, so I think I've probably used about 5 minutes. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or Sal or I.
It's a quick question, but it's leading. We all found out over the years with the tobacco litigation that eventually it went on and it was discovered in that litigation, memos from the 60s where these companies knew the nicotine was addictive and when they were saying it was not, and you had Marcus Welby smoking on TV or whoever it was. There's already evidence, correct, that not only did they say it wasn't addictive, when they were touting this new painkiller, they knew it was. At least the one company, I believe.
Exactly, pretty much all of them. Purdue Pharmaceuticals is kind of the grandfather behind this whole thing. They created OxyContin, which was the first widely distributed opioid. They've already paid billions of dollars to the federal government in fines. All of these companies, for the most part, have already paid millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in fines to the federal government, because they've already been caught in what they did. They've already been caught, the documents have already been found, it's included in the complaint that we've been filing all across the country. It's got 300 pages of examples of what they did, and the information that they just hid. There's really just no denying it. They just blatantly hid the information about addiction. They're a business, and Purdue Pharmaceuticals saw that they were making $20 million a year on OxyContin because it was only approved by the FDA to be given to people for end-of-life care or very short-term use when you're in the hospital after you go undergo major surgery. That's what it was approved for. Now, what we see in every pharmaceutical litigation, when things like this happen, they start to look for off-label uses to expand their market. And Purdue turned Oxycontin into a $20 million a year drug to billions and billions and billions of dollar a year drugs by calling your dentist and saying, hey, anytime somebody needs a root canal, they need Oxycontin. Anytime somebody has knee pain, they need Oxycontin. Anybody and has anything, they need Oxycontin. And that's why we saw these drugs blow up. The rest of the companies saw how successful Purdue Pharmaceuticals was doing, and they followed right in line, and that's really what the litigation is about.
Tobacco, I'm glad you brought that up. That money went to the state of New Jersey, and they used it to balance the budget, or
Correct.
things of that nature. So what guarantees is...
How can you say that?
How can I say that? I know, you know, they would never do that, but they did it.
Heard that
So is that, where will the money come to? What is the percentage we get back? Because I know many times class action suit, what's the split, I guess? How would you, and why are you in state court? What's the benefit of state court over federal court? And why are you the litigants that the county should go with?
Sure. So it's not a class action suit. The county would be filing its own lawsuit in state court, meaning that whenever the time comes to discuss money, the county will either say yes or no. And you'll know exactly how much the county would be getting. It's not a class action, so someone's not going to turn around and settle your case and let you know, by the way, this is what you're getting, or you're getting nothing. The Attorney General question, and then Sal, I'll let you answer a couple just because you just drove 2.5 hours to get here. The Attorney General question, we've seen this all over the place. For example, in New York, the counties had the same exact experience with tobacco. The money never really trickled down. To give you an example, our Attorney General in New York already settled against Endo Pharmaceuticals for this exact lawsuit for $200,000 whopping dollars. And you can imagine Nassau County and Westchester County never saw any of that $200,000. So that's why, unlike tobacco, where people kind of sat back and said, we'll let the Attorney General handle it and see what happens, that's why hundreds of counties and cities have decided, you know what, even more than tobacco, we're feeling these damages here. You didn't have people overdosing in the street. You didn't have drug dealers on every corner selling tobacco. So the counties and cities decided, we want to make sure we have a seat at the table. They can't ignore you if you have a lawsuit filed. So that's what the point is in really moving relatively quick, because the Attorney Generals are doing something. Your new Attorney General has already filed a lawsuit. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that maybe most of the public doesn't know about in terms of negotiations and discussions. The judge who's kind of overseeing this whole thing has put a gag order on the whole thing, so there's only so much we can discuss. Yesterday, the Department of Justice from the Trump administration announced they were joining the lawsuit to recruit federal funds. So there's a lot going on. But to answer your question, that's the point of the county filing their own case, to have their own control and get their own money, as opposed to waiting to see if the Attorney General passes anything along.
I'm assuming, and I hesitate to assume, that any recovery is directed back toward treatment of the problem?
Got it. You travel all this way, might as well talk.
Well, the recovery depends on what the actual county wants to do with the money. If there's a particular program that works here in Sussex County, you can put that money towards that program. What works here may not work in New York City or in Nassau County. So that's the other thing of having control of your case. You're deciding where the money actually goes. If you want to put it into future funding of informing adolescents about opioids and going to the doctor and being prescribed, that's fine. We've traveled all the way to New Hampshire about a week ago. What works for them is setting up actually these kind of rehabilitation centers in their fire department, where they can actually meet with people that are addicted to opioids, try to help them get some treatment there. And what they've learned is that actually gives the community more of a connection with these people, where they can sit with them and talk with them and find what's actually going to help them get over this. And they're learning, they're going through the process of learning, and no one really knows what the answer is yet. And that's why you can determine that after a settlement or a judgment. You can start figuring out what's going to work here. How is this, we're going to put an end to this in this county.
And percentage?
The percentage is a 25% contingency fee off of the net recovery. So basically what happens is any cost, if the case is successful, any costs are taken off the top and then we receive our net fee. So it actually works out to our fee being less if it was the other way around, which would be the gross. So it's a 25% contingency base. Again, that's only obviously if there's some sort of recovery for the county. And I think one question we skipped over was the state versus federal court, I think. If you file a case in federal court, you're going to the multi-district litigation. Your case is being handled from now until the end by a judge in Ohio. If you go to trial, your case is going to be heard by Ohio people. You file in state court, the case is going to be handled by a New Jersey judge, by Sussex County jurors, and other than legal reasons of why there's a lot of advantages to state court to federal court, most of our clients, and at the end of the day, it's up to the county or the city where they want to file, but most of our clients decided we would like this case to ultimately be heard here as opposed to Ohio. So that's the real difference in it.
A few minutes ago, you were talking about, we have 300 pages of documentation and they know what they do. What did they do?
Well, basically what they did was, to sum it up as generally as possible, is hide any of the evidence that they had of addiction. Basically, not to get too much into it, but the entire thing started with one doctor in another state who looked at 50 patients and wrote a letter and said, hey, and this is in 1985, I've given opioids to 50 of my patients and only 2 of them got addicted. This wasn't a legitimate study. This was just a doctor in somewhere else writing a letter to somebody. Purdue Pharmaceuticals took that letter and pretended it was a study and used that in support to the FDA to get their drug initially approved.
This is the extended release version of their product.
Right.
That they're trying to get approved.
Right. What they said was because our drug doesn't administer it right away, the same way if you got a shot of morphine.
So they were arguing that their extended release formula was less addictive than the...
They were arguing it wasn't addictive.
Zero.
Right. There was no risk of addiction. And they were arguing that you would never need more. That
the FDA approved based upon this non-study study. They approved the product?
Right, they approved it because it was approved for the very limited use of people who were either at end-of-life care, palliative care, where there wasn't really that much of a concern whether the person was going to be addicted or not. Right, of course. So that's basically where it started, and the other companies basically fell in line with Purdue to sell their drugs for the same reason. And the idea was that you could give somebody an opioid when the belief was that people only got opioids for a limited amount of time. With their new drugs, people could stay on it for forever and never get addicted and never need more. Your body would never get used to the opioids and then all of a sudden need a higher prescription. There was no issue with that because it was extended release. You never had to worry about that. And they've admitted, obviously, that's not true at this point. I mean, everybody knows how addictive these drugs are. I guess their defense is going to be that they didn't know, but they're not even really trying that hard at that.
Well, actually, this morning I was in court in Suffolk County for the New York action, and the manufacturers got up in front of the court and they said, actually, we want to pay for new studies. We decided the old studies may not be that helpful anymore. So we want to now actually fund new studies. So the judge, upset by this because now this is 15 years later, after they made $100 billion, after finally lawsuits have been filed, now the manufacturers want to go back and do new studies to determine if it actually really is addictive. And the judge was really upset by the fact that they even made that representation today, because he was telling them, you've already done these studies, and you misrepresented that to the doctors and the consumers. And now you're coming into court after you made all this money over the last 15 years, and you're saying that we have to do new studies. And this is obviously one of the also benefits of being in state court. We have a state court judge who seems to be favoring our side at least and pushing the case along. Like Joe mentioned, we're receiving discovery now, and we're the only actual jurisdiction to be receiving discovery at this point. In the MDL,
Suffolk County.
yes, and so that's where all the New York cases have been coordinated in Suffolk County.
Okay.
Once discovery is completed there, then the cases will be sent back to the actual counties where they're filed.
And you specifically, you're talking about Purdue here, not other opioid manufacturers.
These are, the opioid manufacturers have one representative that speaks on behalf of them in court.
Okay.
So he spoke on behalf of all the manufacturers.
Okay.
Right. It's really about the marketing that they did to the doctors, the taking the doctors out to dinner, the taking the doctors to trips to Hawaii. And what we've recently found, and I can't get too much into it, but maybe the most alarming thing is coming to your doctor's office and looking at your medical records, Purdue sales reps, or for example, anybody's sales reps, and convincing your doctor that you needed to be on opioids. And doctors fell in line. And right, they shouldn't be able to look at your medical records, but that's what was happening. And these doctors felt a lot of pressure from a lot of different sources to treat pain. Purdue and the companies were behind pain becoming a new vital sign. It was never a vital sign.
Well, wasn't that a push by the FDA and Medicare though?
It's part of it, and there's certainly blame to go around. It's part of it, but you got to follow the money, and that's where the money was going, to make sure that those things were happening, and that there were additional vital signs being added for pain, and that hospitals now gave you the little smiley faces to see if you were happy when you got out of the hospital, and then Medicare would only pay them a certain amount of money depending on which smiley face you circled. So there's a lot going on in terms of what they did. Quite, to give them credit, quite brilliantly, because they turned it into one of the largest pharmaceutical industries in the world compared to what it was 20 years ago when nobody was on opioids. And so it worked. But now, in our view, is the time for them to now give back and fix the problem that they at least were a big part of creating.
In terms of wrongdoing, were these the opioids in general only were they only labeled or indicated for palliative care or short duration care, or were the labels or the indications allowed for long-term use? I guess what I'm asking is, how much does the FDA play in this and said, go ahead boys, sell these to whoever?
Okay. Well, just one thing is, I just want to make clear, this is not a labeling case, so we're not arguing whether the label was correct or not. It's just a marketing case. If you argue it's a labeling case, then you have the issue of the FDA stepping in and the defendants moving to stay your case and saying that this is primary jurisdiction, that the FDA should be handling this, they handle the labels.
So then the legal theory is that they marketed it incorrectly or somehow...
Exactly. So they would go to the doctors, the sales reps, they would hire sales reps or even at these medical functions, and they would tell doctors it's okay to prescribe for simple back pain.
Deceptive marketing.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Negligent marketing, deceptive marketing, those are the cause of action. We're not arguing about the label. That would then come under the jurisdiction of the FDA, and your case would be stayed after that. While the FDA takes 5 to 10 years to run studies that the manufacturers are going to pay for.
Just to touch on one of the things that we haven't really spoken about, the other category of defendants are the distributors, the biggest companies in the country, like McKesson. There was recently a 60 Minutes special, I don't know if anybody caught it, all about McKesson and basically what they did to pressure the DEA to not investigate them. Under both federal and most state laws, the distributors have a responsibility to report suspicious orders. So if Dr. So-and-so in Sussex County was all of a sudden prescribing quadruple the amount of opioids that he did the year before, or if CVS or Rite Aid was all of a sudden prescribing quadruple or distributing quadruple amount of pills, they had a responsibility to not only investigate, but to inform the DEA or Department of Health about those prescriptions. And like same with the manufacturers, they've all paid their hundreds of millions of dollars in fines, and it's already come out that not only did they not do it, but companies like McKesson, based on that pretty revealing 60 Minutes special, went far and beyond not just doing it to make sure that nobody caught on to exactly what they were doing. So the distributors theories against them are a little bit different. It's a different category of defendants in the same case.
other questions? Thank you very much for driving up here. We know that we're...
Thanks for having us. Yes, thank you very much.
Stick around, it's better to go home when the sun comes up in the morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Freeholder comments?
Thank you very much.
Freeholder Lazar?
Well, I wish I could say that spring's coming, but I can't, because we got another one coming this weekend. So far, we are up to $1,239,647 for 27 storms. We have one coming this weekend. We're anticipating Thursday rain into Friday with snow, and the snow is going to come Friday midday. And one of the things I've noticed about the recent snowstorms is everybody runs out when these snowstorms begin to go get their milk, bread, and eggs. Get it the night before or after it stops, but you go out in the height of the storm when it first begins, before the road crews have gotten out onto the road. It's the most dangerous time. How else to explain it? All you have to do is look out the door, look out the window, and see what's going on out there and say, I am not going to drive in this nonsense. Because you end up losing the rest of your day, losing your car, and maybe you end up in a hospital. Give the road crews a chance to get the ring clear and get something down on the road so that there's traction. Give them time. They need that. And there are emergency services that are already in operation, and you're just going to slow them down, or you're going to hinder their movement. So be careful about that. We have a whole list of roads and bridges that are sitting, waiting for the weather to change, that they'll go into force in Sparta and Wantage. They'll be in operation shortly. I was down at the NJAC meeting, and there are several bills that are pending right now that are of interest. One is the police fireman's retirement system, which is under great dispute right now, as opposed to putting a defined benefit plan in or a defined contribution plan. It may not seem like it's of any value or interest to anyone, but there's huge amounts of money that will be laid on the backs of communities if this goes through and they change the structure of the boards. I'm not going to give any opinion on this last one. I just want to make you aware of it. There's a bill pending, Senate number 1229, with Sweeney and Sarlo, that are establishing annual salaries for certain public officers and employees within the judicial, executive, and legislative branches of state government. In summary, the bill would establish salaries for the governor's cabinet officers and members of the Board of Public Utilities at $175,000 in calendar year 2018 and thereafter. In addition, the bill would provide for an $8,000 increase in calendar year 2018, an $8,000 increase on January 1st of each of the next subsequent 2 years in the annual salaries for justices of the Supreme Court, the appellate division judges, assignment judges, judges of the Superior Court, judges of the Tax Court. Beginning in 2021, the bill would provide for an automatic annual salary adjustment based on the change in the Consumer Price Index. Current law provides that the annual salaries of justices and judges range from $165,000 for tax court judges to $192,795 for Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. The bill would also affect the annual salary for workers' compensation judges, administrative law judges. Under certain circumstances, the annual salary for surrogates, county clerks, registers of deeds, and mortgages, and sheriffs, as the annual salaries of these officials are linked to the annual salary for the Superior Court judge. Now, the only reason I raise this question is that if and when this bill does pass, it will have an impact on the county budget, because we will be directed to cover these expenses as they come up to us. So it's something that we have to be aware of. These are the kinds of bills that pass quietly in Trenton, and we find out about them after the fact. So if you want to look that up, it's Senate Bill number 1229, and become more familiar with it, and contact your legislatures and let them know how you feel about that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Deputy Director Patillo.
First, I'd like to congratulate Nicholas Della Ferra, who is the new police officer that was just hired by Franklin Borough last night. They had a lovely ceremony, and it was wonderful to see his parents there and all the energy and excitement that he was filled with. Special Senior Olympics, not Special Senior Olympics, just Senior Olympics. The first Senior Olympics in the county will be this year. It's very exciting. We're going to have, you can see I have our flyer that represents the Olympics. It's going to be on June 13th, and it's going to be at the Station Park in Sparta. And I want to thank the Recreation Director over at Sparta, because she helped us this morning work all the intricacies out to get this prepared and get it so it was going to work properly for the age group that we're going to be sponsoring. There's going to be an opening ceremony. They will be carrying the torch and banners from their senior centers. And then they will have 6 different activities that they will compete in. I believe we're going to have cheerleaders there as well. There will be a breakfast and a lunch. They'll go from their opening ceremonies to their warm-up, exercising, stretching activities, then their games, their lunch. Then we have our award ceremonies, our entertainment, and our closing ceremonies. It's really going to be a wonderful time for all of them. And if you're interested, I think in some senior centers in certain towns, they still have openings. So they can take 24 on a team. And if the team is full, you can come as an alternate, because this isn't happening until June. Someone may be not able to, play at that time.
Don't keep looking at me like that.
Just in case you want to show up. It's going to be a great day. I mean, it was so exciting to plan this, and everything is just perfect for the seniors, and they're going to have a wonderful time. And it's going to be an annual thing as well, so that's terrific. On March 6th, that's Tuesday, we're having a Sussex County Human Services Forum. This is open to mayors and council people. It's open to the police. It's open to school superintendents or other members of their employ. We decided, as we were watching over the past few months, the needs that were coming into town halls and to school superintendents' offices about homelessness and evictions and these type of issues. And we found that a lot of the boroughs and the townships and the schools did not understand the depth of the services that we offer here in the county. And I have to say that I was the same way as a mayor. As mayor, if someone came into my office with a problem, I called the county, I dealt with that problem. No idea at all the other services that were associated or affiliated with that problem. So we are going to have just an hour program. There will be a full breakfast that we're offering, and that is being sponsored. And we're going to be talking about all of our early intervention with adolescents, substance abuse issues, homelessness, prevention, eviction, transportation services, and all of the services that are affiliated with these basic services. And in light of what happened in Florida, we're going to spend a lot of time on mental illness and the services, programs, and grant programs that we have that are open to the schools to handle early intervention. So we expect to have quite a few people. It's going to be a great program. So I want to thank the Human Services employees and staff for getting that all together. I had a couple more, let me see. Oh, I went to an NJEA workshop only because we've been discussing, when Harry is here, the issues with the praxis test and the Common Core curriculum. And it was very interesting because they had many of the legislators there, and the teachers had different areas that they could split into after breakfast was served. And I went into the praxis test area to listen to the teachers and the legislators talk about this test and actually come to an agreement that one test should not be the full assessment for any student. So they're in agreement. I just hope that they can change it and get rid of that test. So I'll save that for when it comes to our meeting.
Thank you, Freeholder Yardley.
Yes, I want to say that I attended Sunday an event at Troop 404 in Vernon, the Patriots Baptist Council, and we had Robert Riley and Mark Riley receive their rank of Eagle Scout, and it was a privilege to represent the board. The two boys worked on 2 projects for the, it was actually for the church, Our Lady of Fatima Church, and they constructed a storage shed in their parking lot, and the other one was, I believe, some stone work out in front. I don't have that, his presentation here. He did the planter around the entrance, and it's a very long and hard work to become an Eagle Scout, and I'm very proud to be there, and congratulations to those both. I attended the Ag Board meeting. I just wanted to go out and, because they were having a presentation on the right to farm, and we have bees under attack, and we have farms around Sussex County under attack and throughout the entire state. But one thing they do have is the ability to, many of the issues that face the farmers are handled through the Department of Agriculture. There's a specific law. If the town issues a summons, the state does step in and handle that issue. But the farming is very important to our county, and I think we have a very good program, and it was very, very well attended. The entire room was filled. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholders, please review the consent agenda. Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Sussex has reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions and determined that the adoption of the said resolutions is in and will further the public interest. If any freeholder would like to remove an item to be considered separately, please do so now.
I move the consent agenda.
Motion by Lazar.
Second.
Second by Yardley. Discussion? Mr. Pomp, can you just read the over each other?
I would be happy to. On the consent agenda, Resolution 10A, these grant funds will go to support the Sussex County Human Services Advisory Council, coordinator's salary and fringe benefits, along with the supervisor as well. The coordinator is responsible for running the advisory council, which is a county-based planning, advisory, coordinating body dedicated to helping the community meet its human services need. Resolution B, the NJDEP provides grant funding to the Department of Health for services that are referred to as CHA, the County Environmental Health Act, for air pollution control, solid waste, recycling, hazardous materials, and safe drinking water. Resolution C, this funding will provide social services with the ability to assist very low-income residents obtaining emergency electric service and energy assistance when no other funding is available. Resolution D provides for funding for LIHEAP, which again allows social services to assist very low-income residents in obtaining emergency home heating system services and emergency fuel assistance. Resolution E, the resolution allows for the on-call engineering services for construction inspection for Bridge C18, which is in Roseville Road. I'm sure that's... And the county already has an open-ended contract with Genesis Engineering, but this allows for specific services relative to Bridge C18. Resolution F allows for a professional services agreement for psychiatric services to the inmates within the county correctional facility. Resolution G allows for the emergency management performance grant, which would provide assistance to the Division of Emergency Management for their salaries and fringe benefits. Resolution 8 allows the county to enter into an agreement for the purchase of geographic information system mapping data and water resource model. This is a part of the Sussex County Open Space Plan update. Resolution I allows for the entering into agreements with Air Maintenance Solutions LLC for HVAC maintenance at various county-owned buildings. Resolution J allows county officers to execute documents for the issuance of $8.3 million for solid waste revenue bonds or project notes for the leachate pump station and force main project that was presented at the last Freeholder meeting. And that concludes the resolutions on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Item J, Mr. Williams, is that a consent agenda item, or should that have been moved somewhere else in the agenda? We okay with that?
Yeah, I actually reviewed that with the treasurer, and this aspect of it will be. There'll be more, coming later for the actual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any further discussion from the field? Roll call, please.
Mr. Graham is absent. Mr. Lazaro?
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rose?
Yes.
Freeholder Yardley?
Your vote?
Yes.
He answered yes.
Yes.
Approval of minutes, regular meeting, January 24th, 2018. Can I have a motion to
So
approve?
moved.
Motion
Second.
approved by, motion by Lazaro, second by Patillo. Discussion? Can I have a roll call, please?
Please.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Freeholder Lazaro?
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rose?
Abstain.
And Freeholder Yardley?
Yes.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for regular meeting, February 14th, 2018?
So,
Motion by Patillo, second by Lazaro. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, the motion is passed. Appointments and/or resignation. Resolution regarding appointment of Valley Staccato Public Agency Compliance Officer in and for the County of Sussex for calendar year 2018 pursuant to Public Law 1975, Chapter 127, NJAC 17:27. Have a motion?
so moved.
Motion by Patillo, second by Lazaro. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lazaro?
Yes.
Freeholder Lazaro? Freeholder Patillo?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rose?
Yes.
Freeholder Yardley?
Yes.
Resolution regarding opposition to the proposed beekeeping regulations of the State of New Jersey Department of Agriculture. Resolution regarding authorization to close Sussex County Bridge Q18 carrying Sussex County Route 669 Lancaster Road over Sparta Junction Brook in Sparta Township, and to implement, maintain, and modify as necessary an official detour at County Road 669 and provide for enforcement of the bridge closure and road detour. Resolution regarding authorization for the Freeholder Director and Clerk to execute the fiscal year 2018 sub-regional transportation planning work program subcontract between the County of Sussex and Northern New Jersey and the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority. Resolution regarding authorizing the issuance of purchase orders in compliance with NJSA 19:44A-20.4 at SEC for various services with accumulated value less than the bid threshold as stated below.
So moved.
Motion by Lazaro.
Second.
Second by Yardley. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes. Awards of contract, change orders, bids, award of contracts. Resolution regarding awarding contract extension to the competitive contracting process for arbitrage rebate consultant in compliance with Section 148F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to Integrity Public Finance Consulting LLC from March 8, 2018 till March 7, 2019 in an amount not to exceed $22,000. Resolution regarding reporting contract extension for the purchase of beam guide rails and terminals and crash cushions for the County of Sussex from March 8, 2018 to March 7, 2019. Resolution regarding a contract extension for the supply and delivery of traffic signal and electrical equipment for the County of Sussex from March 8, 2018 to March 7, 2019. Resolution regarding awarding a contract extension to the competitive contracting process to Capital Care, Inc. for the calendar year January 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2018 for the provision of adult substance abuse treatment services in the amount not to exceed $26,673. Resolution regarding awarding a contract extension to the competitive contracting process to Freedom House, Inc. for the calendar year 2018 for adult substance abuse treatment services in the amount not to exceed $50,000. Resolution regarding awarding a contract extension to the competitive contract process to Daisy Domestic Abuse and Sexual Assault Intervention Services for the calendar year 2018 for substance abuse recovery support program in an amount not to exceed $21,236. Resolution regarding resolution regarding awarding a contract extension to the competitive contracting process to the Center for Prevention and Counseling for the calendar year 2018 for substance abuse recovery support program in an amount not to exceed $34,583. Resolution regarding awarding a contract extension to the competitive contracting process for the Center for Prevention and Counseling for Adult Substance Abuse Treatment Services in an amount not to exceed $66,294. Resolution regarding awarding a contract extension to the competitive contracting process to Turning Point for the calendar year 2018 for Adult Substance Abuse Treatment Services in an amount not to exceed $92,001. Resolution regarding awarding a contract extension through the competitive contracting process to the Turning Point Anderson House for the calendar year 2018 for adult substance abuse treatment services in an amount not to exceed $10,000. Have a motion. Motion by Patillo, second by Lazaro. Discussion. Mr. Cobb, can you just briefly go over?
Sure. In regards to these resolutions, the first resolution is for the contract extension to Integrity Public Finance Consulting that provides specific arbitrage rebate services in order for the county to be in compliance with Section 148F of the Internal Revenue Code, which is part of the analysis that's done for the county's debt. The next resolution, number 2, authorizes the purchase of various materials that are used in the prioritized repair and upgrade and installation of guide rail systems along sections of county routes and county-owned bridges. Resolution number 3, again, provides for the purchase of various items that are needed to repair, maintain, or upgrade the county's traffic signal systems. Number 4 will provide for substance abuse outpatient counseling to the county's indigent residents. Resolution number 5 provides halfway house substance abuse services, again, for the indigent population in Sussex County. These services include counseling, case management, and life skills training. Number 6 allows for the domestic abuse and sexual assaults intervention services, which will provide recovery support to indigent residents of the county. Resolution number 7, again, allows for support to the indigent county residents, specifically in regards to substance abuse and recovery support services. Resolution number 8 is to provide for the Center for Prevention and Counseling, who will provide substance abuse on an outpatient services basis. Resolution 9 is to provide for subacute detox and short-term residential inpatient substance abuse services for county residents. Resolution 10 provides for halfway house substance abuse services for indigent residents of the county. And that concludes those resolutions.
Thank you. Any further comments?
I just want to make a note. We've authorized over $300,000 to treat drug abuse.
Just tonight.
Just tonight. Just tonight.
Any further comments? Roll call, please.
Freeholder Lazaro.
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo.
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rose.
Yes.
Freeholder Yardley.
Yes.
Change orders. Resolution regarding award of change order number 2 to a contract between the County of Sussex and Lakeside Construction for replacement of Sussex County Bridge C-17, Roosevelt Road, Byram Township, New Jersey, representing a decrease of $61,157.20 or a 2.71% reduction in the contract amount. Resolution regarding award of change order number 2 to a contract between the County of Sussex and Colanelli Brothers, Inc. for replacement of Sussex County Bridge O-07 in Ogdensburg Borough, New Jersey, representing a decrease of $91,564 or a 6.56% reduction in the contract. I have a motion.
I'll make it.
Motion by Patillo, second by Lazaro. Discussion. These represent some change orders to projects that occurred during the TTF shutdown. These are not inclusive of the of any remobilization or other costs associated with the TTF order. I would expect for at least one of these and possibly both to have yet another change order where the numbers will go back up, representing the cost to the county for the TTF shutdown. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Freeholder Lazaro.
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo.
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rose.
Yes.
Freeholder Yardley.
Yes.
Resolution regarding payment of bills.
So moved.
Motion by Patillo,
Second.
second by Lazaro. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Freeholder Lazaro.
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo.
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rose.
Abstain.
Freeholder Yardley.
Yes.
Resolution regarding payment of bills. Have a motion?
We just did that.
Is it Bills B?
Oh, so moved.
B, so moved.
Didn't see it.
Motion by Lazaro. Second by Yardley. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Freeholder Lazaro.
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo.
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rose.
Yes.
Freeholder Yardley.
Yes.
Resolution regarding authorizing submission of the Public Library Statistical Report for 2017 by the Sussex County Division of Library Services. Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Patillo.
Second.
Second by Lazaro. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Freeholder Lazaro.
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo.
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rose.
Yes.
Freeholder Yardley.
Yes.
Introduction for first reading, resolution. Resolution regarding authorizing cap to limit county budget appropriation increase in calendar year 2018 county budget to 3.5% over the previous year's final appropriations, subject to certain exceptions, and to establish an appropriate cap bank. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Patillo.
Second.
Second by Lazaro. Discussion.
I would just say that this is a resolution that should be familiar to the Freeholder Board. It is a provision under statute that allows local governments, including counties, the opportunity to establish a cap bank based upon the preliminary preparation of the county's 2018 draft budget. It is not expected that we would exceed the cost of living adjustment this year, in fact be below that. However, this provision and the Freeholder Board's consideration of this resolution allows for the establishment of a cap bank that can be used in subsequent years, being able to address unexpected emergencies that may arise that would allow the county to be able to deal with that through the establishment of this cap bank.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Freeholder Lazaro.
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo.
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rose.
Yes.
Freeholder Yardley.
Yes.
I have a motion to authorize the clerk to advertise this resolution as introduced for first reading and also post same on the bulletin board in the lobby of the County Administrative Center, together with a notice of public hearing stating that a hearing will be held on March 14, 2018 at 7:00 p.m. prior to final adoption of this resolution.
Motion to post.
Motion by Lazaro, second by Patil. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Freeholder Lazaro.
Yes.
Freeholder Patillo.
Yes.
Freeholder Director Rose.
Yes.
Freeholder Yardley.
Yes.
Division of Library Services request to temporarily increase hours for library assistant position from part-time to 21 hours per week to part-time 28 hours per week at $14.042 per hour. Request to temporarily increase hours for library assistant position from part-time 15 hours per week to part-time 22 hours per week at $14.042 per hour. Request to temporarily increase hours for senior library assistant position from part-time 28 hours per week to full-time 35 hours per week at $14.80 per hour. Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Lazaro, second by Patillo. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes. Public session from the floor.
Excuse me, Freeholder Director.
Yes. I'm sorry. You want to give your report?
I would like to give my report because it's going to be a bit unusual.
All right, administrative report.
Thank you very much. I would like to introduce someone who probably does not need an introduction. You may know him as the retired chief of police from Sparta Township, but he currently is serving as the safety and loss control officer for Skylands Risk Management, Ernie Reichstad. And so I'd like you to come forward. If it's all right with council, I'll yield some of my time to our loss control officer, who has something nice he'd like to share with the freeholder.
Did you put him on a 5-minute clock?
What I'm here to present is a Safety Excellence Award, awarded by your insurance provider, Statewide Insurance. And I could say I'm the one that's going around looking at what everyone's doing, and I can say, you know, that you have an excellent safety program. You got all of the employees have the right mindset, and that's why you were given this award, because everything is headed in a positive direction. And you know, I just, you know, on behalf of Skylands Risk Management, I want to, thank Mr. Pov for his support in this, as well as staff. So. Congratulations.
Mr. Director, if you'd like to accept on behalf of the board.
Sure.
Yeah.
I almost left it out.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for staying.
Anything further?
Yes, just quickly, we're working on finalizing the 2018 county budget. We'll be looking to schedule a meeting with the budget subcommittee to finalize both the library budget as well as the open space trust fund amounts. So expect a call from my office tomorrow to get that date set. We have in fact received some of the additional information that we had requested from the library, so we're in a position now to schedule that meeting. The replacement of the standing seam roof at Ginny's house is expected to be completed. Bless you. It was expected to be completed by the end of this week. I would imagine it will probably go into next week, just with the anticipated weather on Friday. New Jersey Office of Information Technology has advised the county that it will no longer provide for the County Division of Social Services use of the state's extranet. We have a conference call scheduled within the next 2 weeks with the state's Office of Information Technology to determine the impact that will have on the Division of Social Services and what steps may be needed to address the elimination of those services. The Freeholder Board was recently provided with a memo prepared from the Department of Engineering in regards to the FLAP grant that was presented a few weeks back by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. It is anticipated, unless I receive any information otherwise, that we would list consideration by the board to be the applicant on the FLAP grant at the March 28th agenda. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Poff. County Council?
Nothing to report.
Unfinished business? Unfinished business? Any new business? Seeing none. Public session from the floor. Please note, everyone is asked to keep their comments to 5 minutes or less, followed by a 3-minute response time from the Freeholder Board. Please state your name and print your name and your municipality on the sign-in sheet. Do I have a motion to open the floor to public session? Motion by Patillo. Second by Yardley. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. The floor is open to the public.
So good evening, freeholders. My name is Nicole Freeberg. I'm going to continue the trend of recognizing volunteers as we started tonight's meeting off with. I'm currently in AmeriCorps Vista, serving with Westcap Skylands RSVP to implement Sussex County's first friendly visitor telephone reassurance program. So volunteers, VISTA stands for Volunteers in Service to America, and it is more commonly known as a domestic version of the Peace Corps. And it was conceived by JFK, and it was eventually implemented by Lyndon B. Johnson as part of his War on Poverty initiative. And what VISTA does, it mobilizes volunteers to eliminate poverty all throughout America. So VISTA is part of a larger corporation called the Corporation for National Community Service, also known as CNCS. So CNCS was established in 1993, and they too engage millions of Americans every year in volunteerism and service through its three branches, which are Senior Corps, AmeriCorps, and the Social Innovation Fund. So as you can imagine, CNCS is one of the nation's biggest grant holders as well for service and volunteering, and thus they really impact and strengthen the nonprofit sector as well as help communities tackle some of their biggest issues in a really cost-effective way. So just to put that into perspective a little bit, each and every year, AmeriCorps members serve at nearly 50,000 locations each year. These locations can include nonprofit agencies, church organizations, local community agencies, as well as nonprofits. And what they do is they do a variety of different things. They respond to national disasters, they tackle the opioid epidemic, kind of relating to what we talked about before as well. They educate students, they support veterans and their families, or they could do other things like mobilize volunteers to help senior citizens live longer in their homes, which is what I personally do as my AmeriCorps VISTA service. But in other words, what AmeriCorps VISTA members and Senior Corps volunteers do is they help you, the local leaders, make communities stronger in a cost-effective way. More specifically, to kind of put into a Sussex County lens, CNCS has funded about $175,000 worth of projects in Sussex County alone. And since 1994, around 400 AmeriCorps members have served in Sussex County, and they have logged about 570,000 hours worth of service and earned nearly $1.4 million in education awards. So in an effort to really recognize all of these individuals, such as myself, who donate their time, as well as all the other individuals throughout the whole nation, CNCS organizes an annual National Service Recognition Day. It occurs the first Tuesday of every April, so this year it's occurring on Tuesday, April 3rd. And what it is, it's just where local leaders such as yourself all come together to honor AmeriCorps members and Senior Corps volunteers through recognition events, issuing official proclamations, as well as taking to social media. But perhaps the easiest way, and I can help you all out with this, is vouching your support on the National Service website. So your participation would really help highlight and amplify the importance of national service and really inspire others to get involved. So it's really easy to do. You just log on to the website and click on the prompts and sign up. It takes less than 5 minutes. I do have a little handout for you all to look through, but I'm going to make it easier for you all, and I'll email you all tomorrow morning with more information. And I can help you all and sign you up. You know, I can do it for you. I can sign you all up to save even more time. So I really hope that you all help support national service. Do you have any questions?
What groups are you working with locally?
What was that?
You working with groups locally?
So I'm stationed upstairs in the Division of Senior Services office, so I mainly work with seniors in their homes and I mobilize volunteers. So I work with groups, I go out to senior groups and speak, but I don't specifically work with groups. I'm kind of more on an individual level.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Nicole, could you take my card and call me tomorrow? All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Seeing no one else from the public, I'd like to have a motion to close the...
I'm sorry.
Thanks. Nicole, could you give me your information for my contact? You're upstairs here?
Yes. In the Division of Senior Services.
Just walk upstairs.
Yeah.
Who do you want to be absent?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
It's Dennis Mudger from Sparta. Thank you, Director, for allowing the opportunity to speak. I also want to thank the board for the approximately $300,000 towards the dedicated towards the drug needs in this county, as well as the $1.2 approximate million allocated towards continuing to be the strongest county in the state in terms of roads and inclement weather in this fiscal year. 3 years ago, 3 days to date, on February 25th, 2015, there was a solar settlement voted on by 3 counties. I, along with 11 other freeholders in Sussex, Morris, and Somerset County, or 12 out of a total of 17 freeholders, 79% of 3 freeholder boards voted in favor of the settlement. 5 freeholders in 3 counties, or 21% of freeholders, voted in opposition to that settlement. 2 of those freeholders, freeholder Graham, not in attendance tonight, and freeholder Phoebus at the time, or 1.2% of the entire 3 county members of the board voted against the settlement. 2 years and about a month and a half ago, the board voted recklessly in favor of spending $500,000 on a report to be, an investigative report to be done on the solar situation. It took decades ago, this country, 1 year and 45 days to build the Empire State Building. It took an attorney to write a 62-page report, which I didn't read once, I didn't read twice, I read thrice, to give me no information new, not one bit of information new, that I had when I served on this board and read hundreds of pages and attended numerous public and executive sessions. We ended up spending $500,000 on a 61 and 2-line report. We spent $8,064 plus per page on a report. To date, we've recouped no money. We have now 2 other counties who will not join Sussex County in trying to recoup any money. We had, at the time, freeholder Lazaro state he would take full responsibility. At the time, he voted. At the time he was running for office, if nothing was recouped. I find it despicable that this board would spend recklessly $500,000 and chase after bad money with good money, taxpayer money. Approximately, let's see, $500,000, so that the public is aware. That's 0.625% over 2 years of budget money spent with nothing to show for it. You could have cut our budgets the last 2 years by 0.3125 in each year had you not spent the $500,000 recklessly. Now you're going to potentially spend more money during the election season. I find it interesting that it just happens the report that is done by Boxer comes out on August 9th. Yet it doesn't surface publicly with the presentation that Freeholder Graham mistakenly last meeting on February 14th states is factual. No, it isn't.
1 minute.
Actually, the report was Mr. Boxer's opinion based on the interviews he had with different individuals. He didn't interview me. Why? He didn't want the truth? He didn't want to hear from someone who read hundreds of pages over months of period of time serving on that board? The taxpayers deserve better. I hope this board starts instead of talking, starts walking and making a decision to protect the taxpayer dollars. Because if you spend more reckless dollars, and I hope Mr. Yardley, Freeholder Yardley, Honorable Yardley, you do the right thing and change the direction this board's going under lack of leadership. Misleadership by
time.
Freeholder Graham. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mudrick. Any other comments? Seeing Seeing none, is anyone else from the public like to speak? Seeing no one from the public, can I have a motion to close the meeting to the public? Motion by Patillo, second. Second by Lazaro. Discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? The ayes have it. The floor is closed to the public. Reminders, March 5th, 3 o'clock p.m. Planning Board Development Review here in the Freeholder Meeting Room. March 5th at 4 o'clock p.m. Planning Board here in the Freeholder Meeting Room. March 6th at 9 o'clock a.m. Sussex County Human Services Forum over at SCCC. That's what the Freeholder Patillo was speaking about before. March 8th at 7:30 p.m. Water Quality Meeting here in the Freeholder Meeting Room. March 1st at noon time, Senior Advisory Council at Knoll Heights. March 12th at noon, Disability Services Advisory Board in the Freeholder Meeting Room. And March 8th at 1 o'clock p.m., the UCC Board here in the Freeholder Meeting Room. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Patillo.
Second.
Second by Lazaro. Discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned.